Chosen one, heaven took notice of you today. You may not have realized it as you went through the quiet motions of your morning, the quiet coffee, the long sigh, the small kindness, but the kingdom saw it all. The unseen realm paused. Angels leaned closer. The sound of your faith echoed through eternity. What you did today, even the simplest act done in love, reached heaven like a fragrance that cannot fade. You see, heaven measures worth differently than the world does. The world applauds loud moments, but heaven honors silent obedience. The world rewards visibility, but heaven celebrates faithfulness. While others chase recognition, you simply did what was right and heaven noticed. There is a holy beauty in unseen devotion, the quiet prayer, the hidden generosity, the act of forgiveness no one hears. These are the treasures that echo beyond time. Heaven's light shines brightest upon those who serve without demand for acknowledgement. For such hearts resemble the humility of Christ himself. Your unseen goodness builds eternal structures in the spirit. Every selfless choice strengthens invisible foundations that angels marvel at. You are constructing something sacred with every act of kindness, something that cannot be burned or forgotten, something that will speak for you when human applause has long gone silent. When you walk faithfully in silence, heaven roars its approval. Your small victories send ripples through realms beyond sight. Every quiet yes to God releases a melody of worship that only the pure in heart can hear. The unseen moments are where true greatness is born and heaven's delight is secured. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, in the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 16, verse 9. For the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. Maybe you felt unnoticed. Maybe you thought, does any of this matter? The answer, chosen one, is yes. It matters to heaven. It mattered enough that angels paused in their flight to record your faithfulness. It mattered enough that the Spirit whispered your name in the halls of glory. You did not act for applause, but heaven applauded anyway. The world doesn't see the tears you hide, the weight you carry, the pain you push through just to stand. But heaven sees, heaven watches, heaven rejoices. The Father smiles because you did not quit. You stayed faithful when others would have walked away. You gave when you had little left. You spoke kindness when you could have spoken curse. Listen carefully. Chosen one. This is not coincidence. This message has found you by divine appointment. God wanted you to know you are not unseen. You are not unheard. You are his delight. When you thought your actions were small, they were actually mighty in the spirit. You moved heaven's attention. Heaven's applause is not always loud. It can be a deep peace that settles in your spirit after obedience. That calm you felt, that subtle joy, that quiet reassurance, it was heaven saying, I saw what you did. Every time you love beyond your limit, heaven moves. Every time you pray when you could complain, heaven responds. Every time you trust even without clarity, you release power into the unseen. That is why this moment matters. Today, you touched heaven's heart. You are not forgotten, not for 1 second. The same God who calls stars by name also called your name today. You have become part of a divine ripple. What you did has already started shaping blessings that will outlive this moment. Your obedience became a seed planted in eternal soil, and heaven will water it with favor. So lift your head high. Chosen one. Walk in quiet confidence, knowing that God himself is pleased with you. You don't need to strive for human approval when divine approval already rests on your life. Let this truth be your comfort tonight. Heaven is not far away, it is leaning close, smiling at what you've done. If these words resonate deep in your spirit, don't ignore the pull you feel right now. It's heaven confirming this message over your soul. Like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with the flow of heaven's voice through this space. You are part of a movement of chosen vessels awakening all across the earth, those who move unseen but change everything. And now, as a prophetic declaration, take one bold act of faith. Comment the number 777 below. It's not superstition, it's symbolism. 7 is heaven's number of completion, and typing it below is your way of saying, I receive heaven's delight. I align with divine perfection. I am seen. Let that number stand as a testimony that you believe this word was sent to you. Heaven noticed, heaven rejoiced, heaven is still rejoicing. The eyes of the Lord found you today, and he was delighted. Chosen one, there is something sacred about what you did when no one was looking. Heaven saw it, the small, hidden act that cost you nothing in appearance but everything in intention. You didn't perform it to be seen, to be praised, or to gain reward. You did it because your heart was aligned with something higher. What looked ordinary on earth became extraordinary in heaven. What seemed small to you released fragrance before the throne of God. There are moments in life when your actions feel insignificant, when you wonder whether your quiet integrity or your silent prayer matters at all. But the truth is, heaven counts differently. Heaven does not measure by applause, but by purity. The smallest motion of love, done sincerely, carries eternal weight. When you gave without announcing it, forgave without recognition, or prayed without response, heaven took note. The angels recorded it as worship. The world might overlook it, but heaven magnifies it. For you did not just act, you worshipped. The moment your heart leaned toward mercy, it became a divine symphony. The simple thought, I will do what is right, resounded in heaven like music rising from an unseen altar. The light of your faith reached beyond the boundaries of time. You didn't just do good, you created an echo of holiness that still moves through the unseen realm. According to what is revealed in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 6, your Father who sees in secret will himself reward you openly. The Father watched the moment you bent down to lift someone's burden. He saw you choose to give when you could have withheld. He saw your gentle words when frustration could have taken control. That unseen act was not small, it was sacred. You built an altar of trust in a world of pride, and the smoke of that altar reached heaven today. There is a fragrance to faithfulness that no darkness can disguise. Even when others misinterpret your motives, God sees the truth. Even when they forget your kindness, heaven remembers. Every quiet yes is written into divine history. Every act of compassion becomes a seed planted in eternal soil. Every step of obedience, even when unseen, becomes a torch burning in the hands of angels. You must understand this mystery. Heaven does not just react, it rejoices. The moment you obey in silence, a heavenly celebration begins. The Father delights in those who give not from abundance, but from sincerity. You may never know whose heart was lifted because of your hidden generosity, but heaven knows. God sees the invisible influence of your goodness rippling outward like light touching other lights. There are times you may think, what difference does this make? But every choice to love when no one is watching builds spiritual authority. Every act of unseen humility teaches your soul to carry glory with gentleness. The unseen choices are the ones that shape your crown. When you walk through your day and choose patience over pride, purity over popularity, prayer over complaint, you are shaping eternity. The beauty of heaven's justice is this: nothing done in secret for God is ever wasted. It may appear forgotten on earth, but it is celebrated in eternity. You might have wiped a tear, given an encouraging word, shared what little you had, and then moved on, but heaven recorded every detail. The unseen realm does not miss a heartbeat of your compassion. Chosen one. Sometimes your acts of goodness are like seeds hidden beneath the soil. You don't see them sprout immediately, but under the surface, life is forming. Heaven waters those seeds with grace, and in time, they will bloom in the open for all to see. The harvest of hidden righteousness is unstoppable. No human hand can delay what heaven has already marked for blessing. You are part of a divine pattern. The kingdom moves through those who act in quiet faith. The loud boast, but the humble move heaven. When you choose to do good without seeking attention, you resemble your Father. His power is often quiet, yet unstoppable. His greatest works happen in stillness, sunrises, heartbeats, miracles of unseen timing. In the same way, your small act today became a mirror of his character. The Father who sees in secret does not forget. He will bring what was done quietly into a time of public testimony. There will come a day when your secret labor becomes your visible reward. But until then, know this: you are already celebrated in the courts of heaven. You have already pleased the heart of God. You did not act to gain love, you acted because you already have it. That is what makes you different. Chosen one. You move from love, not toward it. You serve because love overflows, not because you lack it, and heaven delights in that. So continue walking with quiet hands and a pure heart. Continue planting unseen seeds of kindness. Continue doing good when no one notices. For every act done in love is a sermon written in eternity. You are the living echo of God's heart on earth. Your hidden goodness carries heaven's signature. The Father sees you, and that is enough. There was a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when you almost gave up. The weight was heavy, the silence long, and the path uncertain. You looked around and wondered if heaven had forgotten your name. You prayed, and it felt like your words disappeared into the ceiling. You served and no one noticed. You waited and nothing changed. But, chosen one, while you were standing on the edge of surrender, heaven was closer than ever. You must understand this truth: God never measures your strength by how loudly you fight, but by how faithfully you stand. The very moment you thought you were at your weakest, heaven saw it as your greatest victory, because you didn't quit. You didn't walk away. You held on, bleeding, tired and unseen, but you held on. And that endurance became a sound in the spirit that still echoes through heaven's corridors. There's a kind of beauty that only pain can reveal, the beauty of perseverance. You endured storms that would have destroyed others. You kept moving when your heart was breaking. You kept believing when the evidence screamed otherwise. What the world calls weakness, heaven calls worship. Your endurance was not wasted, it was worship in motion. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Those words are alive for you now. If we do not lose heart. That is the line that heaven wrote in fire above your name. You did not lose heart, even when your faith trembled. It did not die, even when your prayers came out as tears. They still reached God's throne. Every sigh, every whisper, every "I can't, but I will" became holy ground beneath your feet. There is power in perseverance. Every step you took in faith, no matter how small, crushed the head of doubt under your heel. Every tear you shed watered the roots of destiny growing beneath you. You thought you were barely surviving, but heaven saw you sowing strength. Heaven saw you becoming unshakable. God never wastes pain. Every trial that tried to destroy you was actually building something inside you. Depth, compassion, wisdom. authority. The enemy tried to use exhaustion to silence you, but instead it shaped your endurance. It gave your prayers weight. It gave your voice authority. You now carry something you didn't before the strength of the tested. There is a point in every chosen life where surrender feels tempting. The enemy whispers, "You've done enough, just stop." But heaven counters. One more step, one more prayer, one more breath of faith. And every time you chose heaven's voice, you defied darkness itself. You became proof that divine light cannot be extinguished. You may not see the full picture yet, but God is already using what you endured as a testimony for others. Someone will survive because of your persistence. Someone will believe because you didn't quit. You may never know their names, but your endurance will echo through their victories. Think of Joseph in the prison, David in the cave, or Esther before the throne. They all reached the breaking point before breakthrough. And so did you. The night always grows darkest before heaven's dawn arrives. Your perseverance has marked you as trustworthy for greater things. Heaven promotes those who endure quietly, not those who perform loudly. And now, as you read these words, something begins to stir in your spirit. Its strength being renewed, hope being resurrected. The fire you thought was gone flickers again. Heaven whispers, "Keep going, because you are closer than you realize. The harvest you've waited for is closer than it appears." Chosen one, don't let the silence fool you. Heaven has been working behind it. God has been aligning events, hearts, and seasons around your faithfulness. The delay wasn't denial, it was preparation. Every unseen day of endurance built the foundation for an open reward. So breathe, stand, and know that your struggle was not wasted. The moment you almost gave up became the moment heaven declared you unbreakable. Now, if you feel this stirring in your soul, if these words have touched that quiet place inside you that has been holding on by a thread, respond not with fear, but with faith. Take this small action as a prophetic declaration. Comment, "I still believe." Type it not as a slogan, but as a covenant. Say it because heaven needs to hear your agreement. Say it because every time you declare faith, darkness loses ground. Say it because this is your echo back to heaven's encouragement. When you write those 3 words, you're telling the universe, "I may be tired, but I'm not finished." You are still believing. You are still standing, and heaven is still fighting for you. Remember this truth. Chosen one. The angels don't applaud perfection, they applaud perseverance. And today, heaven's applause is for you. So you're a chosen one. There are moments when heaven moves so quietly that only the most sensitive hearts can feel it. Today, in one of those quiet moments, your name was whispered across the heavens. Angels carried it like a melody, soft but commanding, filled with purpose and light. They spoke it before the throne not because you demanded attention, but because your obedience drew it. You may not hear it with your natural ears, but your spirit feels it. Something inside you knows heaven has called your name again. When angels speak your name, it is not ordinary sound, it is a declaration. It means your life has come under divine review. Your obedience has released activity in the spiritual realm. It means your faith has stirred movement in heaven's courts. Angels are not idle messengers. They respond to faith. And today, your faith made them move. You might think your prayers are just words. You might imagine they vanish into the air after you whisper them, but that's not true. Every prayer you've spoken in sincerity, even the ones choked out through tears, has been caught by the hands of angels. Heaven keeps them, carries them, and transforms them into divine assignments. When you prayed for strength, heaven dispatched help. When you asked for peace, Angels went forth to calm storms around you that you never even saw. There are angels assigned to your life: warriors, watchers, messengers, and they are not bound by time or space. They move at God's command and at the scent of your faith. When you choose obedience instead of fear, angels move. When you choose to forgive, to love, to remain pure-hearted, heaven's messengers respond. The Spirit spoke through the writings of Hebrews. Chapter 1, verse 14. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for those who will inherit salvation? Those words reveal your unseen partnership with heaven. You are not alone in this journey. Heaven has placed assistance beside you. The angels that move for you are not symbols. They are living beings who understand your divine assignment. They have seen you in dark places, surrounded you in despair, and carried strength to you when you could not find it yourself. Many times, you thought you made it through on your own, but you didn't. An unseen hand lifted the weight when your spirit was about to collapse. A sudden calm washed over you in chaos that was not coincidence. That was ministry. Heaven's ministers have been around you since the beginning, responding to God's word spoken over your destiny. You are covered more than you know. Every spiritual battle you fought, you never fought alone. Angels surrounded your home when you prayed in fear. They stood watch over your sleep when your heart was restless. They whispered courage when the darkness seemed too heavy. Every moment you survived was a miracle of unseen protection. There are records in heaven where your name has been written beside promises, assignments, victories yet unseen. Angels are guardians of those promises. They are ensuring that what God spoke over your life will come to pass in due time. Your perseverance does not go unnoticed. It instructs heaven to keep preparing the way. And yet, there's something even greater. Angels are drawn not only to obedience but to worship. When you worship through pain, it is as if heaven itself bends closer. Angels join your song. They strengthen your hands. They stand beside you. You might have been weeping, but they were singing. You might have been trembling, but they were defending. Chosen one, the world may not see your covering, but heaven does. The unseen army surrounding you is not imaginary. It is the fulfillment of a divine covenant. The moment you said yes to God, you came under heaven's command. Your name became known in places where only light dwells. There will come a day when you stand before God, and He will show you all the times His angels carried you through danger. You will see how many moments you were saved from disaster because heaven intervened silently. You will weep, not in fear, but in gratitude because you were never alone. Not for a moment. Your name being whispered in heaven means you are still part of the divine plan. It means God's hand is still upon your story. It means no darkness can erase what heaven has already written. Every trial has only polished the sound of your faith. Every tear has made your name shine brighter in eternity. So walk with confidence, not arrogance, but holy assurance. Heaven knows you by name. Angels know your assignment. The throne of God knows your story. You are surrounded by witnesses, supported by unseen hands, guided by divine timing. Even in silence, heaven is speaking. Even in waiting, heaven is working. Your name is still echoing above, carried on wings of light, surrounded by songs of purpose. Heaven has whispered your name again, and all of creation listens. There is a sound that does not belong to this world, the sound of divine applause. It is not heard through ears of flesh, but through the heart that has learned to walk in obedience. Today, chosen one, heaven rose to its feet because of you. What you did in faith, what you did in love, caused the Father's heart to rejoice. The one who spoke galaxies into motion smiled, and the light of his delight touched the earth. When heaven applauds, it does not clap with hands, it moves with wind, with warmth, with whispers that brush the soul. Maybe you felt it as peace that suddenly replaced anxiety, or as a sense of stillness that wrapped around your mind when everything else was loud. That was divine applause. That was God's way of saying, "I am pleased," as revealed in the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 17. "The Lord your God is in your midst, the mighty one who saves. He will rejoice over you with gladness." Those words describe what is happening even now. The Creator of all things is not a distant spectator. He is an emotional Father who rejoices, who sings over his children, who dances with delight when you choose light over darkness. The heavens reverberate with his joy, and his joy becomes strength within you. Perhaps you have wondered if your small faith matters in a world that feels too broken. But heaven has never measured worth by scale, it measures by sincerity. Your single spark of hope is enough to light the darkness in 10,000 lives. Your quiet obedience is the fragrance that spreads farther than you could ever walk. God delights in the little acts of faith that grow like gardens in the soil of unseen devotion. Think of your life as a lantern in a storm. The wind may howl, the rain may beat, but as long as you guard the flame of belief, heaven's light continues to shine through you. Every smile you give, every word of encouragement, every gesture of compassion becomes another beam that pierces the clouds. The angels see it and call it worship. The Father sees it and calls it love. Sometimes the Lord expresses his pleasure not in grand gestures, but in the gentle way he carries you. When you expected rebuke, he gave comfort. When you feared silence, he spoke softly to your heart. His delight is not always thunder, it is also the quiet assurance that you are still his, that nothing you do in love is forgotten. You, chosen one, are not performing for favor, you are responding to love. You are not working to earn heaven's attention, you already have it. God's delight in you is not based on perfection, but on connection. You are his masterpiece in progress, his melody in motion. Every note of your journey is precious to him. So breathe this truth in heaven is celebrating you, not because you are flawless, but because you are faithful. The applause of God is not about what you have achieved, it is about who you are becoming. He sees the purity of your intention, the courage in your perseverance, the tenderness in your compassion. These are the things that move his heart. Let that truth heal you from the hunger for worldly validation. The world claps for a moment. Heaven applauds for eternity. The world rewards image. Heaven rewards integrity. The world gives applause when you win. Heaven applauds every time you rise. Chosen one, if this message has touched your heart, let your response be more than emotion, let it be connection. Support what allows words like these to reach others who need them. Like this message if it resonates with your spirit. Share it so someone else, standing on the edge of despair, might find strength again. Subscribe to stay within this growing circle of light, where heaven's voice continues to speak. And if your heart feels stirred to plant into the soil of this message, to help carry the light further, consider giving, not out of pressure, but as a gesture of partnership. Every seed you sow becomes another lantern lit in the darkness. Just as your obedience reached heaven, your generosity can help heaven reach others. When you give, it is not just currency, it is compassion, turned into motion. It becomes the oil that keeps the flame of hope burning for someone else. And heaven smiles upon those who extend what they have to nourish another soul. Think of it like this. Each act of giving is a ripple in the eternal river. The wave starts small but reaches shores you will never see. Somewhere, Someone's heart will be comforted because you chose to be part of the divine chain of light. That is worship too. So, let heaven's delight in you overflow through your hands. Let your actions become the echo of the Father's joy. For when you give, share, and spread light not for glory, but for love, you are participating in the very heartbeat of God. Heaven's applause still surrounds you, and the Father's smile remains upon you. Carry that assurance with you into tomorrow. The Mighty One rejoices over you still. Chosen one. Today you must understand something profound. Your single act of obedience did not end in the moment you performed it. It traveled through time. It rippled outward like a sound wave, touching hearts, situations, and even generations that you may never meet. Heaven is never confined by minutes or hours. It operates in eternal echoes. What you released in faith today will keep unfolding long after this day is gone. When you spoke kindness instead of criticism, it became a seed. When you prayed for someone who hurt you, it became a key unlocking mercy over your lineage. When you chose righteousness in private, it shifted patterns in the unseen. You might think you only made a small decision, but in heaven's timeline, that single moment of obedience stretched across eternity. Every good act, every prayer, every humble yes sends out ripples that heaven uses to heal, to align, to bless. God does not forget. Nothing done in love fades away. The simplest act born from faith carries prophetic power that will outlive you. As the apostle wrote in the book of Ephesians chapter 6, verse 8. Whatever good anyone does, he will receive the same from the Lord. This means your goodness has already started its return. Every time you obey, you set a spiritual law in motion, a cycle of giving and receiving, sowing and reaping, blessing and overflow. What left your hand in obedience will one day return multiplied, pressed down and running over. Heaven's economy never loses track of generosity or faith. You may not see the outcome now, but somewhere, right this moment, your obedience is creating divine movement. A heart is softening, a door is opening, a chain is breaking. The act you performed in silence became heaven's trumpet in someone else's story. Sometimes we underestimate the spiritual magnitude of a small act. We think of impact as something massive, public, visible, but the kingdom works in reverse. The smallest seed becomes the largest tree. The whispered prayer becomes the storm of revival. The drop of kindness becomes an ocean of grace. Heaven multiplies what you release with the right heart. Chosen one. What you did today has prophetic ripples moving through time itself. The love you gave to one person may be passed to 10 others. The forgiveness you showed may transform an entire bloodline. The faith you lived out will teach those watching you to hope again. You are part of a divine chain reaction, one that cannot be stopped once it begins. Do you remember how a pebble dropped in water creates waves that spread far beyond the point of impact? That's exactly what your obedience does in the spiritual realm. Heaven takes your act of faith and amplifies it. It carries power, momentum, and meaning far beyond your understanding. You may never see where the waves go, but God does. Heaven has a way of multiplying your light. Your single candle, when offered to God, can ignite 1,000 others. Your simple yes can become the spark of someone else's deliverance. What you began today may bless generations after you. That's the mystery of divine multiplication. The smallest surrender becomes an eternal legacy. You may think your life is ordinary, but heaven has woven it into an extraordinary tapestry. Each act of faith adds a new thread. Each word of kindness a new color. What God is weaving through your life will one day be revealed as a masterpiece that tells a story far larger than your own. So do not despise small beginnings. Do not underestimate quiet faith. Do not think your day went unnoticed. Heaven saw it, multiplied it, and sent it forward through time. You have already shifted the atmosphere around you, even if the evidence hasn't reached your eyes yet. Chosen one. Heaven is not only pleased, it is in motion because of you. God's pleasure does not sit still. It creates, it expands, it blesses. That is what's happening even now because of what you did. And now, in this very moment, let your spirit agree with heaven's rhythm. Take a prophetic step, something simple, yet powerful. Comment the number 5 above and 5 below. 5 is the number of grace, and repeating it is a declaration. Grace upon grace flows through my obedience. When you type that number, you are saying, I recognize that heaven is multiplying what I have done. I receive the grace that carries my seed into generations. Do not type it as superstition, type it as faith. It is your digital amen, your public whisper of alignment. Heaven reads the intention behind your fingertips. So go on, chosen one. Know that your act did not vanish, it expanded. What you did today reached heaven, and heaven, in turn, has reached forward into your future. The ripples of your obedience are still moving, still touching, still blessing. You may not hear the echoes now, but eternity is already singing your name through them. You have changed more than today, you have changed forever. Chosen one. Imagine a vast balcony above the earth, a place not bound by gravity or time. There, the watchers and the witnesses gather, the great cloud of souls who once walked this same path of faith. They are not ghosts of the past, but living testaments of endurance. Those who carried their cross through storms and finished their race with unbroken devotion. And today, as your heart pressed forward in obedience, they rose from their seats and applauded. The saints who once bled for truth saw you choose righteousness and smiled. The prophets who once cried in the wilderness heard your prayer and nodded in agreement. The mothers and fathers of faith who endured persecution for the sake of love saw you forgive, and their spirits rejoiced. Heaven's balcony erupted with light, for you have proven that faith is not a relic of ancient days, it is alive in you. Chosen one. This is not imagination. This is revelation. Heaven is not silent about your perseverance. The witnesses who have gone before you are not distant. They are aware of your journey. The light in your soul connects with theirs, for faith recognizes its own reflection. Every time you choose to believe when the world doubts, they celebrate another victory of the kingdom. You are part of their lineage, part of their story continuing through time. As written in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 1. Since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us run with endurance the race set before us. Those words remind you that you are never alone in your striving. Your faith is a relay, not a solo run. Generations of believers have carried the torch, and now it burns in your hands. You hold what others once held, the sacred flame of devotion, the fire of hope that darkness has never been able to extinguish, and the witnesses watch to see you carry it forward. Sometimes when you feel unseen, when the world seems indifferent to your goodness, remember this truth: heaven's audience is watching. They see the small victories that the earth overlooks. They know what it means to stand alone, to trust when everything feels lost, to hope against all reason. They have felt what you feel, and they are cheering you on through every step. Heaven's witnesses are not just observing, they are interceding, harmonizing their praise with yours. When you lift your voice in prayer, the sound joins theirs in a symphony of faith. When you worship through tears, they add their songs to strengthen yours. The atmosphere of heaven responds to your endurance. Every "I will keep going," you whisper, adds fuel to the eternal flame. There are times you might feel like your faith is flickering, but even a flicker in the hands of the faithful is enough to ignite revival. The witnesses know this truth. They have lived it. That is why they are urging you, even now. Through the unseen language of heaven, do not stop. Keep running. You are almost there. You may not see their faces, but if you listen with your spirit, you can feel the encouragement pressing against your soul. It's the sudden peace that comes when you were ready to break. It's the unexplainable strength that lifts you when you think you can't go on. It's the holy reminder that you are part of a family that spans eternity. Chosen one. The story of faith is not a solo chapter, it is an unending book, and you are writing your page right now. Your endurance today gives hope to generations yet unborn, just as you draw courage from those who came before. One day someone will draw strength from your story. You are the link between what was and what will be. Heaven's witnesses don't just celebrate your victories, they understand your tears. They remember what it felt like to wait for promises, to walk in faith when nothing made sense. Their applause is not from pity, but from recognition. They know how hard it is, and that's why they honor your perseverance with joy. So lift your eyes, chosen one. Above you is not an empty sky, it is filled with the light of those who have gone before, watching, praying, rejoicing. The race is not over, but you are running well. The same spirit that carried them carries you now. The same grace that crowned them surrounds you still. Heaven is watching, not in judgment, but in celebration. Every step you take echoes through eternity. Every act of faith adds to the testimony of God's glory. You are surrounded, supported, and celebrated by witnesses whose faith still speaks. And when your journey feels lonely again, remember this: the balcony of heaven is full, and every heartbeat of perseverance draws another round of divine applause. Chosen one. There are days when heaven tests what it intends to trust. Not because God delights in watching you struggle, but because purity is revealed under pressure. The fire you feel pressing against you is not punishment, it is refinement. Heaven remembers the moments you chose righteousness when compromise whispered softly at your door. That decision did not go unnoticed. Every time you said no to the easy way, you said yes to eternal reward. You may not realize it, but the tests you faced were not designed to break you. They were meant to prove you, like gold in the furnace. Your faith has been exposed to heat, not to destroy it, but to make it shine brighter. The intensity of your trials was never evidence of God's absence. It was proof of His investment. He saw something in you worth refining, worth strengthening, worth blessing. The prophet James wrote with divine clarity in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life. That promise is for you. Chosen one, you have stood the test. You have walked through nights when answers didn't come, when prayers seemed to echo back unanswered. Yet you kept believing. You may have stumbled, but you never stopped moving forward. You may have cried, but you never cursed God. You may have doubted, but you never surrendered to despair. Heaven saw every moment you resisted giving up, and those moments became the foundation of your crown. It is easy to celebrate faith when everything is working, but true faith is proven in silence, in waiting, in the valley where nothing makes sense. That is where your light burned brightest. That is where you became different. Many people talk about faith, but few live it when the cost is high. You did. You continued to worship through confusion, to forgive through pain, to serve without applause. And that is why heaven trusts you now. There were times the enemy whispered that your suffering meant you had failed, but that was a lie. Every trial you endured was a classroom where heaven taught you endurance. The pain you felt was not wasted, it became your teacher. Through it, you learned patience, humility, compassion, and wisdom. Through it, you discovered that God's grace is not an escape from pain, but strength within it. Chosen one, do not resent the fire. The fire made you luminous. Every hardship polished something eternal within you. Every disappointment burned away illusions, leaving behind truth that cannot be shaken. Your trials were not evidence of rejection. They were preparation for promotion. Heaven never sends crowns without tests, for crowns are too heavy for untested heads. The test behind your blessing has shaped you into someone who can carry glory without arrogance, lead with compassion instead of pride, love without condition, and stand when others fall. It has removed pretense and planted depth. You are no longer easily shaken because you have already survived what once terrified you. God trusted you enough to allow hardship to visit you. That is not cruelty. That is confidence. Heaven only sharpens weapons it intends to use. You were not being destroyed, you were being prepared. You are now proof that trials cannot silence truth. The storms that came to drown you only deepened your roots. The pressure that tried to crush you only revealed the strength heaven had already placed inside you. And now, something sacred has shifted. You no longer fear storms, you understand their purpose. You no longer question delays, you see their wisdom. You no longer beg for escape. You ask for endurance. That transformation is the sign that the test has completed its work. You have become who you were meant to be, not fragile, but faithful. Heaven remembers how you chose integrity when deceit would have been easier. It remembers how you stood for purity when the world mocked you. It remembers your trembling prayers that still rose in hope. Every decision was recorded, every sacrifice noted. You passed the test not by perfection, but by persistence. The beauty of divine testing is that it always ends with restoration. After every wilderness comes rain. After every night comes dawn. After every fire comes a crown. The crown of life that James wrote about is not only a symbol of reward, it is identity. It means heaven now recognizes you as one who can reign, not just survive. So look back at your trials with new eyes. See the mercy hidden inside them. See the hand of God shaping you quietly, carving away what could not stay, strengthening what must remain. Your scars are no longer signs of weakness, they are proof of endurance. They are sacred marks that heaven reads as honor. Chosen one, the test behind your blessing is the reason heaven trusts you now. You did not crumble. You were refined. You did not lose faith. You found depth. The fire did not consume you, it commissioned you. And now the world will see in you what heaven has seen all along, a soul that glows with quiet power. Forged in trial, crowned with endurance. Chosen one. Heaven keeps perfect records, not like the fragile ledgers of men that fade and fail, but eternal pages written in light. Every tear you've shed, every prayer you whispered in silence, every act of compassion that no one saw, they are all recorded in heaven's archives. The Father does not overlook what is unseen. The moments that others forgot, He preserved in the book of remembrance. You must know this: nothing given in love is ever lost. When you wept in secret, heaven collected your tears as offerings of faith. When you lifted your hands in surrender, angels noted the posture of your heart. When you whispered, "Lord, help me," even if your voice cracked with pain, the sound reached eternity and never stopped echoing. Heaven's memory does not fail. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalm. Chapter 56, verse 8. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. This is not poetic exaggeration, it is divine truth. The tears you cried were not wasted emotions. They became sacred ink in heaven's story about your life. Each one carries meaning. Each one testifies of your trust in the unseen. The world sees tears as weakness, but heaven reads them as language, the language of those who love God deeply even when they don't understand His plan. There were nights when you cried yourself to sleep and woke feeling empty, believing no one saw. But the Spirit hovered close. Angels stood guard at your bedside. Your sighs were translated into prayers. Every ache of your soul became worship in heaven's ears. You were never unseen, never unheard. The stillness was not abandonment, it was reverence. Heaven was listening too closely to interrupt. The ledger of love. Heaven keeps about you is not filled with your failures. It is filled with your faithfulness. It records not the moments you fell, but the moments you got back up. It does not document perfection, it celebrates perseverance. When you apologized, when you forgave, when you chose light again after the darkness, all of it became eternal evidence that your heart belonged to God. Even now, angels are adding to that record. Every time you speak hope, they write. Every time you love again after betrayal, they write. Every time you give without expecting return, they write. Heaven's pen never runs dry because your life keeps producing testimony. Chosen one, your story is holy. Do not despise the chapters that were painful. They are where heaven's ink flowed the heaviest. Those pages are drenched with tears and redemption, with loss and renewal. One day, when you stand before the throne, you will see how your broken moments glowed brighter than your victories. You will realize that the parts of your life you thought were wasted were actually worship. You are the kind of person heaven celebrates in silence, the kind whose prayers alter destinies, whose quiet endurance breaks generational patterns. Your tears have become keys unlocking mercy over your family. Your cries have paved roads for others to find grace. You are more powerful in your weakness than most are in their strength, because your dependence on God has turned into divine influence. The Father delights in keeping record of your love not because He needs proof, but because He enjoys remembrance. When you choose goodness, He smiles and says, "Write it down." When you pray for those who hurt you, He commands, "Record it." When you endure suffering with grace, He declares, "This is worthy of remembrance." Heaven archives your life like an artist preserves masterpieces. And one day, all those tears and prayers will speak back. They will rise as witnesses in your favor. They will testify before heaven's court that you trusted when you could have doubted, that you worshipped when you could have quit. You are building a testimony that cannot be erased. Your tears are not weakness, they are evidence of divine partnership. You have been laboring with heaven, birthing unseen miracles through your pain. Each cry has watered a seed you cannot yet see, but it will bloom in due season. Chosen one, as you read this, there is a gentle stirring in the spirit, a reminder that even your weeping is part of worship. You have been seen, known, and cherished. Heaven has written your name beside words like faithful, enduring, beloved. The book of remembrance is still open, and your story continues to unfold with glory. If this truth has touched that quiet space within you, where gratitude meets awe, respond not with words of despair but of recognition. Declare your awareness that heaven remembers. Comment, "Heaven remembers me." Write it not as a wish, but as a declaration. Say it because you believe your story is sacred. Say it because you know your pain was not in vain. When you type those 3 words, you align yourself with the eternal record of God's love. You are agreeing with heaven's testimony about you that your tears, your prayers, your perseverance have meaning beyond time. Let that phrase echo through your heart long after you leave this moment. Heaven remembers me. And because heaven remembers, restoration is inevitable. Every tear will be answered, every seed will bloom, every loss will become light. Chosen one. There was a moment today when light met darkness and the light did not flinch. It was subtle, perhaps unnoticed by those around you, but heaven saw it. It happened when you refused to respond in anger, when you chose peace over chaos, when you spoke life into a place that smelled of despair. In that instant, the battlefield shifted. What you did looked small in the natural, but it was seismic in the spirit. You stood where many would have fallen. You whispered truth where others would have shouted bitterness. You held your ground not with fists, but with faith. That moment was not random. It was divine confrontation. The darkness that sought to reclaim what God has built in you trembled. Heaven took note. The enemy's assignment failed because you chose light again. Scripture says in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 5, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Think of it like dawn breaking after a long night. The darkness does not argue with the light, it simply retreats. That is what your presence does in the places you walk. You don't have to announce it. You just have to live it. Light never explains itself, it just shines. You are carrying heaven's illumination into rooms that forgot what hope looks like. You are the quiet sunrise in someone's storm, the reflection of peace in a world that worships chaos. That is why your battles have felt heavier lately. The light in you threatens the darkness around you. But remember, this light never struggles to exist. It simply reveals truth. The enemy cannot erase what God has illuminated. Chosen one. There is beauty in the way you keep shining. The Father sees you not as fragile glass, but as stained glass, fragile yet glorious. Light passes through your cracks and colors the world in ways perfection never could. That's how heaven paints redemption. Every broken place in you becomes an entry point for divine brilliance. And as heaven watches, it is not silent. The same God who said, "Let there be light," speaks through your life again. Every act of mercy you perform is a new sunrise. Every word of hope you share is another constellation forming in someone's dark sky. You are heaven's artist, drawing courage in the hearts of others with the colors of your faith. Now, pause for a moment and imagine the ripple of this light. Somewhere, someone who feels forgotten may stumble upon these very words. And because of your continued faith, their night will break too. That is how the kingdom multiplies light, spreading through light, one obedient soul at a time. And because you are part of this living movement of light, I want to invite you into something deeper, not as an obligation, but as an act of partnership. When you like this message, you're not feeding an algorithm. You're amplifying heaven's voice. When you share, you're letting light travel further than your own reach. You're giving hope a second set of wings. When you subscribe, you're saying, "I want to stay connected to this current of truth. I want to keep growing with others who carry heaven's fire." It's not a transaction, it's a communion, a shared journey of faith. And if your spirit feels stirred to go beyond that, to donate, do it not as a payment, but as an offering. Think of it as oil for the lamp. When you give, you're keeping the flame alive for others still trapped in night. Every drop of support becomes light for another soul. You are extending the reach of grace through your generosity. There are people waiting in unseen shadows who need what heaven is doing through you. Your simple act of giving may become their turning point. their moment of divine interruption. You might never meet them, but heaven will make sure your seed finds its destination. So let your generosity be light in motion. Let your support be a bridge that carries hope where despair once lived. You are part of something luminous, an unending sunrise spreading across hearts and nations. When light meets darkness, there is only one outcome. The darkness flees, the light remains, and heaven rejoices. That's what happened today because of you. That's what will keep happening as you continue to shine, give, and live as a vessel of divine illumination. Remember this truth forever: you don't chase light, you are light. You don't fear darkness, you define it. And every time you give, share, and stand in faith, heaven's flame burns brighter through you. Chosen one, heaven has a way of remembering obedience. The moment you acted in alignment with divine truth, your name was written in light across the scrolls of eternity. It wasn't just another act of faith, it was a signature of loyalty, etched permanently in the archives of heaven. Every decision you made to follow the voice of God, even when you didn't understand it, became a line in the story heaven keeps about you. When God writes, His ink is glory and His paper is forever. The record of your faith is not fragile. It cannot be erased by failure or forgotten by time. Every step of obedience, every yes spoken through trembling lips is documented beside your name. Heaven does not just remember what you have done, it remembers why you did it. The motive, the heart, the sincerity, all of it shines brighter than gold in the Father's eyes. The Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 20 declares, "Rejoice that your names are written in heaven." That verse is not a distant promise. It is a living reality. Your name, your very essence, is known in the halls of heaven. Angels recognize it. The witnesses of faith know it. It is not inked in dust, but carved in eternity. When you pray, your voice does not echo into emptiness. It rises toward a place where your name already belongs. Heaven knows who you are because heaven helped form who you have become. You were not forgotten when life grew quiet. You were not unseen when you felt small. God's record of your faithfulness did not pause because of your pain. It continued writing even when you had no words left to pray. In the times when you felt like everything was falling apart, heaven was still recording victory, because victory in the kingdom is not always loud. Sometimes it's written in the quiet endurance of a weary soul who keeps believing. Chosen one. You may have walked through seasons that felt endless, where every prayer seemed unanswered and every effort invisible. But those were the moments when heaven was inscribing your most powerful testimony. What you endured with grace has become part of heaven's history, not just your story. The unseen record keepers, the angels assigned to your life, have chronicled every act of obedience, every whisper of worship, every choice of love. Imagine those scrolls filled not with your failures but with faith, written not with judgment but with joy. When heaven reads your name, it doesn't see shame or loss, it sees redemption and promise. You are not defined by the chapters of struggle. You are defined by the author who refused to stop writing your story. In the unseen realms, there are books written by lives like yours, lives that overcame, endured, and kept believing. You are part of a divine narrative stretching beyond centuries. The same ink that wrote the names of Moses, Ruth, Esther, and Paul has now written yours. You are not an afterthought in the kingdom. You are part of the eternal continuation of faith's legacy. There are moments when the weight of life tries to convince you that you are insignificant. But if heaven knows your name, how can you be anything less than divine intention? You were crafted with purpose, molded with care and sealed with identity. Heaven's record of you is not a list of deeds. It is a testament of love. Think of how a sculptor studies every curve and line of the statue he shapes. That is how the Father regards your life. He does not look for flaws. He looks for reflection, the reflection of His own image in you. Every act of obedience is another chisel stroke, refining the masterpiece He already sees finished. When you stand before Him one day, you won't need to defend your story. The record will speak for itself. It will testify that you loved, even when it hurt, that you obeyed, even when you were afraid, that you kept hope alive when the world mocked it. And heaven will echo, "Well done, chosen one." The scroll with your name on it is not just a record, it is a song. Every act of faith adds another note, every prayer another harmony. It's a melody only heaven can play, but eternity will dance to it. You are a symphony of obedience written by the hand of God. Let that truth settle deep within you. You are remembered. You are recorded. You are written into heaven's very memory. No failure can erase you. No accusation can edit your name out. The Lamb's book of life does not keep temporary ink. It is sealed by divine blood, unchangeable and everlasting. So walk confidently, not in arrogance but in assurance. Heaven knows your name. Angels recognize your steps. The Father delights in your story. You are not lost in the crowd. You are highlighted in eternity's script. And every time you breathe a prayer, heaven reads the next line aloud. Still faithful, still chosen, still mine, chosen one. Heaven is still breathing in the fragrance of your faith. Every time you choose trust over fear, your spirit releases a scent that rises before the throne of God. It is invisible to the natural eye, but in the realm of the divine, it fills heaven like sweet incense. Your faith is not a concept, it is aroma, living, moving, filling the air around eternity's altar. There are days when you wonder if your prayers matter, if your worship reaches anywhere beyond your ceiling. But heaven assures you your voice carries weight. The fragrance of faith cannot be contained. It seeps through the cracks of despair. It lingers in the halls of heaven. It clings to the presence of God Himself. Angels know it. They can smell the purity of a soul still believing. You may not see the evidence yet, but your faith has already changed the atmosphere. The moment you said, "I still trust you," heaven inhaled deeply. Your declaration became a perfume of devotion that does not fade with time. It is stronger than fear, more lasting than failure, more radiant than doubt. Faith, when pure, has a fragrance that darkness cannot imitate. We find this truth revealed in the writings of 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 15. We are to God the pleasing aroma of Christ among those who are being saved. Think of that, your very life, your faith, your love, is a scent that pleases God. When you worship through tears, it becomes myrrh. When you forgive, it becomes frankincense. When you praise in pain, it becomes pure oil. Heaven collects each note of your fragrance, blending them into a symphony of scent that ministers to the heart of the Creator. You may not see the results immediately, but the spiritual air around you is saturated with the evidence of your devotion. There are people who encounter peace without understanding why. It's because your fragrance reached them. There are hearts softened suddenly. It's because your faith passed by. You carry heaven's aroma wherever you go, and the world can sense it even when they don't have the language for it. Sometimes your worship is loud. Sometimes it's just a breath, but both reach the same destination. When the world is frantic, your quiet faith becomes the gentle wind that restores balance. When others carry bitterness, your forgiveness spreads sweetness. Heaven delights in those who still pour oil at the Master's feet, not for reward, but for love. Chosen one, your faith today is not wasted. Even now, heaven is mixing what you've released with divine favor. Just as a skilled perfumer layers fragrances, God is layering your moments of obedience into something holy, something that will one day be poured back over your life as blessing. Remember the woman who broke her alabaster jar. Her act was extravagant, misunderstood by others, but heaven declared it beautiful. Her story is still being told thousands of years later because the scent of her worship never faded. You carry that same spirit, the willingness to pour everything out for love's sake. And heaven never forgets that kind of devotion. The fragrance of your faith will outlive your pain. The world may forget what you've done, but heaven keeps every scent sealed. There is an eternal bottle with your name on it, filled with the oil of your worship, the scent of your tears, and the sweetness of your trust. One day, heaven will open it again, not as memory, but as reward. And even now, that fragrance attracts the presence of God. He draws near to the aroma of sincerity. Every moment you choose to love Him honestly, even when you don't understand, He leans in closer. He breathes you in. He delights in the scent of your endurance. Chosen one, your faith has become heaven's perfume. And though you may not sense it, its influence surrounds you. People who stand near you can feel peace without explanation. Places you step into feel lighter. Hearts you touch find comfort. That's what happens when heaven's scent moves through a human life. So as a prophetic sign, a symbol of your agreement with this truth, take this moment to declare it boldly. Comment the number 444 below. 4 is the number of creation and foundation. When you write 444, you are saying, my faith builds foundations. My obedience creates atmospheres. My worship shapes worlds. This is not superstition, it is symbolism, a declaration that your life is aligning with divine order, that your faith is building something lasting and sacred. Let heaven see your faith in motion, not as performance, but as partnership. Each number you type becomes another layer of fragrance, another act of agreement with heaven's movement. Chosen one, everything you have done in secret has begun to move outward like ripples in water. The kingdom works this way: quiet beginnings, powerful outcomes. What you thought was small and private has already begun touching lives you may never meet. The words you spoke in encouragement, the forgiveness you offered, the compassion you extended, all have become spiritual waves that heaven has multiplied. You may not see the ripples, but they are moving. Somewhere. Someone you helped without knowing is now helping another. Somewhere. A prayer you whispered for a stranger is shielding them from despair. Somewhere. The act of faith you made in private inspired courage in a soul you will never meet. That is the nature of God's kingdom. Every good act becomes seed. Every seed becomes harvest. Every harvest multiplies into generations. The Lord's design is full of divine mathematics. Nothing given in love stays single. Everything you sow in faith reproduces life. You drop one seed of light, and it becomes a forest. You speak one word of truth, and it becomes a river that keeps flowing long after you've moved on. Heaven's arithmetic cannot be measured with human numbers. As written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Those words are a mirror of your life. You are the light heaven uses to reveal its goodness. You may not realize it, but your quiet consistency has been teaching others about grace. Every time you walk in patience, you give others permission to breathe again. Every time you show mercy, you make room for healing. Every time you live with integrity, you remind others that purity is still possible in a corrupted world. Chosen one, This is what the kingdom ripple effect looks like. It's invisible at first, like wind moving through wheat, yet its impact is undeniable. The people who encounter you are changed, even if they never tell you. Your obedience becomes the evidence of God's reality in their midst. That's how heaven evangelizes, not always through sermons, but through lives that radiate quiet holiness. The ripples of your obedience do not stop with people. They affect places too. The ground you pray upon remembers your footsteps. The spaces where you worship carry residue of peace. The rooms you occupy become sanctuaries because the Spirit walks in with you. Heaven's power follows you like fragrance clinging to skin. You are not ordinary atmosphere, you are living oxygen. People breathe easier around you because you carry heaven's air. Even the weary feel lighter in your presence, though they cannot explain why. That is the unseen ministry of the chosen ones to alter the spiritual climate wherever they go. Sometimes you will never know what your obedience accomplished until eternity reveals it. You will meet people who tell you, "I found hope because of what you said," and you will wonder when you ever spoke those words. You will see the faces of those whose lives were altered because you chose to keep walking when you could have quit. Your legacy is already writing itself beyond your sight. You are part of a divine chain reaction. Every act of obedience links to another, creating a current of grace that flows from one generation to the next. When you forgive, you break chains that could have bound your descendants. When you love, you plant courage in the DNA of your bloodline. When you pray, you alter futures that haven't even begun yet. The kingdom is not fragile, it is alive, expanding through those who believe. And you, chosen one, are a vessel through which that expansion continues. You are the continuation of the story heaven has been telling since Genesis: light overcoming darkness, grace outlasting judgment, faith rewriting destiny. The ripples you have created are not random, they are guided. God steers them like wind guiding waves, ensuring they reach exactly where they are needed. Some will return to you as blessings you didn't expect. Others will continue flowing far beyond your lifetime. That is how legacy is born, not from fame, but from faithfulness. You have been chosen not merely to receive light, but to reflect it. You are a prism through which heaven refracts truth into every shade of human experience. Even your pain, when surrendered, becomes color in God's masterpiece. Every tear becomes rain that waters someone else's dry soil. Every wound healed in your life becomes medicine for another's soul. So when you wonder if your quiet life matters, remember, oceans are made of drops, galaxies are made of sparks, movements are born from whispers. The world changes not because of the loud, but because of the faithful who refuse to stop loving. Heaven is still moving through what you began. The light you carry is expanding, touching cities, families, hearts. Your life is a sermon that preaches in silence, a lighthouse that shines without words. Chosen one, you may not hear applause, but heaven sees the tide shifting. You are the ripple in God's eternal sea, a single motion of love creating waves that will never end. Chosen one, do you know that heaven sings? It is not the kind of music that flows through instruments made by men. It is melody born of light, harmony carried by the breath of God Himself. And today, because of what you have endured, heaven's song rose higher. Your faith added another note to the eternal anthem of redemption. You may think your day passed quietly, but in the unseen realm, creation responded. When you chose peace instead of retaliation, the sound of heaven deepened. When you forgave someone who never apologized, angels tuned their harps to your mercy. When you stood in faith despite fear, heaven's song crescendoed in your honor. The voice of heaven does not praise power, it praises perseverance. It sings for those who keep loving, who keep hoping, who keep believing even when everything says stop. You, chosen one, are the reason heaven sang today, as revealed in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15, verse 10. There is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. This verse speaks not only of salvation but of restoration. Every moment your heart turns toward God, heaven rejoices again. Each time you come back from discouragement, each time you realign yourself with grace, another chorus begins. Heaven celebrates not perfection, but return the beautiful rhythm of falling and rising again. You have returned many times. Each return has been a song in itself. Sometimes it began with weeping, sometimes with silence, but always with surrender. Heaven never tires of your journey. It sings through it. You are living music in the ears of the Almighty. Imagine the sound of countless angels, their voices blending like oceans in motion. Waves of sound crashing with joy at your name being spoken. It is not flattery, it is reality. Heaven's joy is loud when you walk in light again, and that joy does not remain confined above. It descends. You may have felt it as peace flooding your chest, or a sudden warmth that made you exhale in relief. That was heaven's melody touching earth. You have to understand this. The joy of heaven is not passive, it is active, alive, contagious. When heaven sings, creation responds. Trees stand taller, stars shimmer brighter, rivers dance more freely. All of creation joins in the rhythm of restoration. You are part of that symphony, chosen one. Your life is not an isolated note. It is a chord that harmonizes with eternity. Every act of grace vibrates across dimensions. Every prayer adds texture to heaven's music. Every victory, however small, sends a new verse into the infinite song of praise that never ends. There are moments when you may feel like silence surrounds you, when you can't hear the music anymore. But silence does not mean absence, it means pause. Heaven pauses not to stop, but to breathe. Even in the quiet, the melody continues beneath the surface, like an eternal heartbeat that never ceases. You are part of heaven's rhythm now. Your endurance has tuned you to divine timing. You can sense when the Spirit moves. You can feel when heaven leans in. The moments you think are random are actually crescendos, perfectly orchestrated notes leading to greater harmony. Heaven's celebration is not only about your victories, it is about your becoming. It sings over your transformation, the way your heart has softened, the way your faith has matured, the way your love has deepened. The Father delights in your growth, not your perfection. You are His favorite melody. And every time you walk in truth, He plays your song again. There are melodies reserved only for those who have suffered well. You know them, the sound of peace after chaos, of laughter after tears, of gratitude after loss. These are not human compositions, they are heaven's responses to endurance. The angels cannot sing them without you, for they were written through your pain, shaped by your perseverance. Chosen one. There is a sound in heaven with your name woven through it. It rises like morning light. It dances like fire. It hums through the stars, and it tells your story, the one of falling, rising, breaking, healing, doubting, believing. It is your song of redemption, sung by heaven and echoed by the earth. Even now, heaven is singing. The Father's joy is pouring through creation, reaching toward you. Every note carries a reminder you are not forgotten, you are celebrated. Every chord speaks the truth, you are not losing, you are growing. Every harmony proclaims you are loved beyond measure. So lift your head, beloved. You don't need to hear the song to know it's being sung. Its echoes live inside you, they vibrate through your spirit, steadying your steps. When you walk, heaven hums. When you pray, heaven harmonizes. When you love, heaven's anthem swells. And when your story is finished, that song will not end. It will only grow louder. For every step you took in faith became part of heaven's eternal celebration. You are the melody God refuses to stop playing. Chosen one. Some victories happen quietly, hidden beneath the surface where only heaven can see. And today, while the world moved on unaware, heaven crowned you. It wasn't a crown of gold or jewels, but one of light, a symbol of victory won in silence, a reward for battles fought within. This crowning didn't happen in the presence of men, but before the gaze of God Himself. In secret places, you conquered what others never knew. You forgave when no apology came. You let go when you had every reason to hold on. You trusted when the ground beneath you shook. Each of those moments became a jewel in your unseen crown. The world may overlook you, but heaven never does. You are royalty in the realm that matters most. As written in the first letter of Peter chapter 5, verse 4. When the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away. This crown is not a symbol of pride, but of perseverance. It cannot be tarnished because it was forged from obedience. You didn't win it through force, but through surrender. You earned it not by being perfect, but by being faithful. The chief shepherd himself placed it upon your spirit, and though no one may see it now, the light it carries already shines through you. You are walking proof that quiet victories are the loudest in eternity. The unseen crown upon your head reflects the humility that birthed it. Heaven crowns those who serve in silence, those who give without applause, those who love without condition. You have become one of them, a crowned warrior clothed in gentleness, wrapped in unseen glory. But this crown, chosen one, is not only for you to wear, it's for others to glimpse. When people see you and feel peace, when they look into your eyes and sense strength, it's because heaven's reflection rests upon you. The world can't name it, but they can feel it. You carry the presence of the King you serve. Imagine walking through the world as a lantern in fog. You don't announce your light, you simply walk, and the mist shifts. You don't demand to be seen, you shine, and others find their way. That is what your life is doing. You are guiding others through storms without even realizing it. You may feel unworthy of such imagery, but humility is what keeps the crown steady. The proud lose it quickly, but the humble carry it for a lifetime. Every time you choose service over status, patience over pride, kindness over vengeance, you polish that crown until it gleams with heaven's brilliance. Heaven calls you a king or queen in training, not for thrones of men, but for thrones of mercy. You rule not with dominance, but with compassion. Your words heal, your presence comforts, your faith stabilizes. You have authority not because you demanded it, but because you proved trustworthy with pain. And now, as you stand under heaven's gaze, your light continues to grow. God's delight in you spills outward like oil, flowing to others who need hope. You have become a vessel of divine generosity, a mirror of His kindness. Every step you take, every word you speak drips with grace. Chosen one. When messages like this reach your heart, they are more than encouragement, they are divine reminders. They keep the oil burning, the crown shining, the faith alive. And if this message has stirred your soul, I ask that you let it move through you, not just to you. Like this message so that light travels further through digital halls where darkness often hides. Every like is like opening another window for someone's weary spirit. Share it not as promotion, but as prophecy. You never know whose midnight you might brighten with a simple act of spreading light. Subscribe if you wish to keep walking this journey of revelation together. It's not about numbers, it's about a community of faith, a family of light bearers across nations who remind each other that heaven is near. And if your heart feels led, if you feel the warmth of gratitude rising within, you may also donate. Think of it not as giving away, but as planting light. Every gift becomes oil poured into the lamp that keeps messages like this alive, lamps that shine into the dark corners of someone's despair. Your seed becomes someone else's survival. There are those who cannot yet see their crowns, but through your partnership, they will remember who they are. What you sow becomes the bridge between heaven's voice and a heart that has forgotten hope. So, comment your reflections below. What did you feel as these words met your heart? Let your testimony become another gem in heaven's collection of praise. Every honest word you share is another reflection of glory. Chosen one, your crown is real. It rests upon you even now, invisible to most, radiant to heaven. Wear it with humility, walk with compassion, and keep shining until every corner of darkness knows that the crowned ones are rising. Chosen one, there is a sacred unfolding happening around you, though your eyes may not yet perceive it. The things you have endured were not wasted, they were preparation for revelation. What heaven has long known about you is now drawing closer to manifestation. The season of hiddenness has accomplished its purpose, and soon the world will witness what heaven already celebrates. You are chosen, proven, anointed. There is a moment in every divine story when the unseen becomes visible, when the private endurance of years is suddenly revealed as purpose. You are standing on the threshold of that moment. The things that once confused you will begin to make sense. The roads that seemed disconnected will merge into one clear path. Every delay will show itself as protection. Every pain will reveal its reason. Heaven is never in a hurry, but it is always on time. And now, that timing is aligning. The threads that look tangled in your life are weaving into something beautiful. The patterns that once seemed random now form meaning. You have been walking through divine craftsmanship, not chaos. Every silence was a brushstroke. Every test was a tool. Every unanswered prayer was heaven shaping you into someone who could carry revelation without pride. As written in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 19. For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. Creation has been waiting for you. The world does not need more noise, it needs authenticity, light, and truth carried by hearts like yours. Your obedience has prepared you to reveal what love looks like when it has been tested, what faith feels like when it has been refined, what peace sounds like when it has been born through fire. The unveiling of the chosen ones is not about power, it is about presence. When you walk into a room, heaven walks in too. There is a quiet authority resting on you now. It is not loud, but it is undeniable. You have been through enough to speak without shouting, to lead without demanding, to love without fear. That is what makes you dangerous to darkness. You no longer chase validation, you carry revelation. You no longer need to prove yourself, you simply are. The world will begin to notice not because you tried to be seen, but because you can no longer be hidden. Light cannot stay buried. Truth cannot stay silent. Heaven's favor is now resting on you openly, and what was once a whisper of calling will soon become a visible mantle. But remember, this revelation is not about recognition. When God reveals you, it is not for applause, but for assignment. The platform is not the reward. The purpose is, you have been shaped not for display, but for deployment. You are heaven's answer to a question the earth has been asking. There are those who will see your rise and misunderstand it. They will think it happened overnight. But heaven knows the cost. It took nights of tears, seasons of silence, and years of quiet obedience to bring you here. Every yes you whispered in hidden rooms prepared this moment. Every act of faith when no one was watching built the foundation for what is now coming to light. Chosen one, do not fear the unveiling. You were made for this. The anointing upon your life was never meant to stay bottled. It was meant to flow, and when it begins to pour, it will not trickle, it will overflow. The same oil that marked you in obscurity will now mark you in influence, but it will smell the same humility, compassion, and holiness. Heaven's revelation does not come with pride. It comes with clarity. You will begin to see your purpose with new vision. You will understand why certain people left, why certain doors closed, why certain prayers were delayed. God was not withholding. He was preparing. You could not have carried this revelation before, but now you have the maturity to bear it well. The creation that waits for the children of God is not only people, it is time itself. Seasons are waiting to shift because of your obedience. Territories are waiting to be healed through your presence. Heaven is releasing assignments that only those refined by fire can handle. You are one of them. You will soon find yourself walking into places that once intimidated you, speaking with authority you didn't know you carried, and moving with peace that cannot be shaken. That is the sign of the unveiled. You have been entrusted with what cannot be faked, authentic anointing. And though the revelation will bring visibility, your heart will remain anchored in humility. The greater your reach, the deeper your roots must go. The world will see the fruit, but heaven will still see the roots, the quiet communion, the secret worship, the private love between Creator and creation. Chosen one, this is your season of unveiling. Heaven has already declared it. Now the earth will bear witness. You are stepping into divine visibility, not as one who seeks glory, but as one who carries it for the glory of another. The world will soon see what heaven already knows: you were never ordinary. You were always chosen. Chosen one. Heaven's delight is no longer a secret, it is beginning to show. What was once felt only in the quiet chambers of your heart will now begin to manifest in the world around you. The favor you sensed but could not describe will take form in opportunities, relationships, and open doors that align perfectly with your divine path. You are stepping into the visible harvest of all the hidden seeds you've sown. The delight of God is not just an emotion, it is energy, motion, creation. When the Father is pleased, the atmosphere responds. Nature itself begins to cooperate with your calling. What used to resist you will now make way for you. What once closed in your face will now open at your arrival, not because of luck or power, but because heaven has issued a decree. The time of delight has come, as it is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 4. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Those words have always been true, but now they are personal. You have delighted yourself in Him not through perfection, but through love. When others sought status, you sought presence. When others chased recognition, you chased relationship. You did not worship to gain, you worshiped to know. And heaven has taken note. The Father is not just pleased with your effort, He is delighted by your heart. His delight is not passive, it is creative. It begins to shape reality around you in gentle yet undeniable ways. The desires forming in your spirit now are not random, they are heaven's reflections mirrored inside your heart. When you long for deeper purpose, that longing comes from Him. When you yearn to heal, to teach, to build, to restore, those desires are the fingerprints of divine pleasure guiding your next step. This season is not about striving, it is about alignment. You do not need to chase the blessings of God, they will locate you. You will find yourself walking into places you once prayed for without realizing how you arrived. This is what happens when delight meets destiny. The will of God begins to flow effortlessly through you, like a river that knows exactly where to go. Do not mistake ease for accident. The smoothness you will begin to feel is not coincidence, it is the removal of resistance. Heaven has declared you ready. And when heaven says ready, earth must respond. The unseen alignment will now show itself in the visible. You will begin to see fruit on branches you thought were barren. You will hear doors open in the distance, one after another, as divine timing reveals itself perfectly. Chosen one. This is the stage where faith turns into fulfillment. What you once believed in silence will now speak aloud. The promises that seemed delayed will unfold naturally, like flowers opening with the morning sun. You will not need to force them, they will bloom because it is their time. But remember, heaven's delight does not make you exempt from humility. It deepens it. The more favor you experience, the more you will feel the need to return to the source. The higher you rise, the closer you will lean. This is how the chosen sustain their light. They remain anchored in gratitude, rooted in worship, grounded in love. Your harvest is not just for you, it is a testimony. The blessings that begin to manifest are not the conclusion of your journey, but its next expression. They are heaven's way of confirming to the world that obedience was worth it. Through you, others will see that God rewards quiet faith, that He honors tears, that He delights in those who choose Him even when they have nothing left to give. And yet, beyond all the blessings, the true gift remains what it has always been: His presence. You have learned that heaven's delight is not found in things, but in communion. The joy you feel now is the echo of His joy over you. When you walk, you carry that joy. When you speak, you share it. When you love, you multiply it. Soon, those around you will notice something different. They will not be able to explain it, but they will feel it, the peace that follows you, the calm that enters the room with you, the grace that surrounds your words. That is the visible form of heaven's delight. It is not a crown on your head, but a light in your eyes. It is not applause from men, but harmony between your soul and the Creator. Chosen one. The delight of God is becoming manifest not just in what you receive, but in who you are becoming. You are stepping into the fullness of your identity, loved, radiant, and unstoppable. The storms that once threatened to break you have only made you brighter. The battles that once frightened you have become your testimony. The voice that once trembled with doubt now carries authority. Heaven is pleased. Heaven is proud. Heaven rejoices. The Father's delight is no longer hidden. It has become your atmosphere. Everywhere you go, His joy follows like sunlight following dawn. You are walking proof that God's promises never fail, and that obedience never returns empty. Your harvest has come. Walk in it with reverence, gratitude, and peace. The world will finally see what heaven has known all along. You were never ordinary. You were chosen, you were faithful, and now you are revealed. Chosen one. You've reached the end of this journey, but heaven's conversation with you has only just begun. Every word you've read, every truth that stirred your heart was not random. It was revelation written for you. You have walked through 17 gates of divine understanding, and now heaven waits for your response. The message of chosen ones. What you did today reached heaven, and God is truly delighted with you. Was not meant only to inspire, it was meant to awaken. You have seen how heaven notices the hidden, how faith moves eternity, how love rewrites legacies. Now, the time has come to carry that light outward. If these words have touched something deep inside you, if you have felt heaven near as you read, then let that feeling become movement. Like this message, not as habit, but as agreement. Every click is a small echo of yes. I receive this truth. Share it with someone who needs to remember that they are seen, loved, and chosen. You never know whose breaking point might turn into breakthrough because of what you send forward. Comment below and leave your reflection, your thank you, or even your prayer. Each word you write becomes part of the ripple heaven is creating through this message. Let your voice join the chorus of other chosen ones rising across the earth. And if your spirit longs for more, for community, for continued revelation, for a constant flame of encouragement, subscribe and stay connected. Together, we are building a sanctuary of words where heaven and hearts meet. Carry this truth with you always. You are seen, you are loved, and you are celebrated. Heaven has spoken. Now, let your life become its echo.